We don't need R&D in our company.
Oscar's abusive voice echoed in the conference room. It had been 2 years since Oscar started making fun of us at the company's regular monthly meetings. I was waiting to see exactly when I should leave the company. My name is Thomas. I am the head of the R&D. I work for a large food processing company. We specialize in ice cream and frozen confections, and we distribute our products to supermarkets and souvenir stores all over the United States. Employees call me Edison, after my name. I moved to my current company about 10 years ago. Although the pay was less, I was generally content because I was able to do what I wanted and had another income. 3 years ago, things started to change. It was when the president's eldest son, who had been training at a different food company, came to the company as vice president. One day, I was called to the president's office. "I have an important favor to ask you, Thomas. I need you to develop a new ice cream product. I've already decided on the general idea." The president had approached me with a top-secret project. "This is for my son. It will be difficult for the other employees to accept my son as the next president. If my son makes a big hit product at the same time he joins the company, I thought that the employees will be happy to have him as a successor." "Yes, I think that would be a good idea." I nodded in agreement. "So here's the thing, Mr. Edison. We want to surprise everyone, so please don't tell them it was my idea. Let's say it's the R&D's idea, and I'll reveal that it was mine after the product is released." The vice president snickered mischievously. "If we can make a blockbuster product, our business performance will increase, and our employees' salaries will rise. We might even be able to offer extra bonuses." "An extra bonus would be nice. So then, what's your idea?" The vice president smiled. "A hamburger." The vice president replied with a smile. My mind went blank for a moment. I tried to think and process what he said. "A hamburger? Ah, I get it. You mean colorful ice cream. You said earlier it was a new ice cream product. Taking a cue from everyone's favorite, hamburgers." I interpreted this to mean that they were developing a new ice cream product with a variety of flavors. But the vice president said, "No, that's not it. It's everybody's favorite food, hamburger, in the form of an ice cream. It's a new and fun product, isn't it? I'm sure it's going to be a big hit." "Are you serious?" The president's attitude made me turn a straight face. "I was surprised at first, but isn't it a novel idea? I thought of it with the vice president. I couldn't have come up with such an idea on my own. This is the age of the internet, and I'm sure that there are people out there who would buy it just for the fun of it." There was no way I could stop them if the president and vice president were willing to do it. My R&D staff and I thought it would never sell, but we worked hard to develop the product. At the time of the internal announcement, the sales department and the other departments were, as expected, not fond of the idea. However, the president and vice president pushed the product to market, saying, "We've gone to a lot of trouble to create this product, so let's trust our R&D department." The president and vice president never mentioned that it was their idea. As expected, the product did not sell. In fact, the product went into a surprisingly large deficit, which led to all employees' bonuses being cut that year. Furthermore, the vice president called me in and said, Please say that it was not my idea and that you guys did it on your own. You must keep it a secret. Do you understand? From that moment on, I did not like the boss and his son. Oscar in sales department couldn't buy the car he wanted because of the bonus cut, and he became overtly hostile to me.
What's with you, Edison? You've only graduated from high school. You're getting ahead of yourself.
I was often criticized in passing by him. At the company's regular meeting, at the beginning of each month, he would always make it difficult for us. Since Oscar was like that, the people around him would imitate him and harass me. I thought about resigning, but I held out for the sake of those working under me. Then, the day of the regular meeting came again. There, Oscar made an outrageous statement.
Let's get rid of the R&D.
My mind went blank. What are you saying all of a sudden?
You've made a lot of mistakes in the past, you know. You've made a terrible mess of things like the hamburger-flavored ice cream.
Oscar glares at me and clears his throat. He looks around and explains loudly.
Listen up, everyone. We already have a series of very popular products. For the time being, we will be more profitable if we work on developing sales channels rather than product development. If this series of products stops selling, we can start research and development in new. R&D departments are all about labor costs. We don't need a department that will only cause losses to the company.
Oscar glanced at me.
He has only graduated from high school. R&D would be better off in the hands of someone else.
The other employees listened in silence. Some of them were nodding their heads. I stared at the president and the vice president. The president and vice president looked away from me and remained silent with difficult expressions on their faces. Oscar continued.
I've actually bought on board a talented individual with a sales expertise from one of the largest companies in the industry. He's a 24-year-old man from a major general trading company. If we can learn about sales from him, our sales should go up and we'll be profitable.
Some were surprised while they agreed that that would be a great idea. But others seemed not to be surprised at all, as they probably had already heard about it.
Perhaps if we could get those experts to develop a sales channel for us, our business might pick up.
Surely, selling the products we already have is more important than developing products that don't make any money.
The sound of crackling applause echoed in agreement with Oscar. Oscar was completely smitten.
So, everyone, let's fire the high school graduate who can't give us any profit.
He shouted. The conference room fell quiet for a moment, perhaps because he had said too much. No one agreed with Oscar's statement while I was present, but no one disagreed either. Are you sure? I quietly said and looked at the president. Before the president could answer, Oscar spoke up.
It's natural. From now on, we'll use the experts we've brought in from the big companies.
He smiled condescendingly at me. I didn't care about Oscar though. Are you sure you want to get rid of the R&D? Are you sure you want to fire me? I repeated. The atmosphere was so heavy that no one around me spoke a word. The president was not very articulate, but answered. I'm sorry to tell you this, but Oscar has a point. I think we should focus on sales rather than development. Does the vice president share your opinion? I asked, and the vice president, unlike the president, was very clear. I think Oscar is right. We can outsource R&D when it becomes necessary. And I think it would be too heavy a burden for a high school graduate like you to take on such an important job as R&D. He looked somewhat relieved.
So, the president and vice president have made it clear now.
Oscar gave a snickering smile. I was ready for this. I knew that the president and vice president were trying to get rid of me by remaining silent about the hamburger-flavored ice cream. If the president or vice president would cover for me here, I thought I could make things go peacefully. But if they caught me off, I'm not going to give them the time of day. I bowed my head and said, "Thank you very much for all you've done for me." I returned to the R&D office and explained the situation to my coworkers. I told them that I had been fired and that the R&D office itself would cease to exist. Then my coworker said, "I'm quitting."
Me too.
One after the other. It seems that they also had their own feelings about the president and his son. As I was packing up my things, the Human Resources Department came to call me in. Oscar said I was fired, but Oscar had no authority to do that. The president and vice president talked it over, and I was not dismissed on disciplinary grounds, but rather dismissed for company reasons. It was an abrupt end to a 10-year career. I decided to put into action a plan that I had been contemplating for some time. It was to start my own business. I had always wanted to start my own company. I had been preparing for this for many years and had consulted with lawyers as well. My co-workers said that they wanted to work for my company. My nickname Edison is not just a play on my name. It has another meaning. I am a true inventor. I don't think Oscar, the president, or the vice president know that I hold the patent for the #1 selling product. That's why they can treat me like this. A few months later, I received several calls on my phone from my former company. When I answered the phone, it was the president of the company. "Thomas, or rather, Manager Edison, why did you send me this? I had no idea you had a patent on the product in the first place." The president asked me in a trembling voice. "I have told you about it, and I sent it to you because I wanted you to stop using it," I replied. I had sent a warning letter demanding that they stop using the patent. I was going to be thorough. After deciding to do so, I sought advice from a patent lawyer. I had heard a lot about patent infringement lawsuits, but I did not know how to stop a lawsuit against a non-infringing party. A patent is a kind of right. Since I, the right holder, did not want the patent to be used, I figured there must be a way. I consulted with a lawyer and asked him to draft a letter to send to the president of the company, demanding an injunction against the use of the patent. "I don't want to follow your request. I want to talk to you. Will you come to my office?" "Okay, I'll be on my way." Thus, I came to the company for the first time in 3 months. When I was led into the conference room, the president, vice president, and Oscar were waiting for me.
What in the world do you mean by patent rights? Why the hell do you have them?
Oscar yells when he sees me. It's exactly what it says in the letter I sent you. I have the patent for the #1 selling product at your company. You can find it in the patent database. I explained in a matter-of-fact manner. When I was a child, I loved biographies of Edison, so it was only natural that I was curious to invent things. But it was rather early on that I realized I didn't have the same inventive talent as Edison. It's obviously not adequate to compare myself to a history-making inventor. So, I changed my mind. I decided to aim for the cracks. At the time, TV shows about new and useful products were all the rage. But I honestly wondered if any of them would sell. The patents were all very different, and some of them were quite plain. For example, the structure of a non-melting packaging for ice cream. There is a big discrepancy between the public's image of inventions and patents, and the actual patents. I have been able to relax my shoulders and invent casually. So I came up with various ideas while attending a technical high school. When I think about it now, I created a lot of weird inventions. I thought to myself that now that I've made it, I might as well patent it. So I made a lot of inventions, and then more and more people applied for patents on them. Of course, there are some patents that don't bring any money at all. Some inventions, however, bring in a large amount of patent fees, like the current #1 selling product. I won the grand prize at an invention competition for students and got a job at a major company. But I could not do research as I wanted at a big company. And even if I made something, all the rights belonged to that company. I wanted to keep the rights for myself. That's why I changed jobs. Only me and my co-workers in the R&D office have access to detailed information about the patents used in our products. And if neither the president nor the vice president checked the patent database, you really couldn't have an idea, did you? It was disappointing to find out that you hadn't looked at any of the specifications or documents I had provided. The president and vice president looked pale. Manager Edison, we didn't know you had the rights to this product. If we can't sell this product, our company will be in trouble. The vice president begs. Incidentally, the top-selling product uses a special bag that prevents melting of specialty ice creams when producing in various regions. I have a patent on the manufacturing process and the structure of the special bag. If I refuse, they will no longer be able to produce it. Please, forgive us. I didn't know you were such a great guy. Please come back. The president begged to me as well. I had told him about my patents 10 years ago when I interviewed for the job, but he seems to have forgotten all about it. It's a little too late for that. I won't be back. I've already started my own business. Oh, by the way, what happened to the experts you hired out of big companies? Are they already working at your company? I said coldly, and Oscar replied,
He is scheduled to join the company next month.
I smirked at him. He's 24, isn't he?
What does that matter?
If he has a master's degree, he will be 24 when he graduates, right? It's June right now, and he joined the company last February, right? So, he has almost no working experience, does he? Especially at a major company. They take a lot of time for training.
What?
Oscar finally caught on. I guess he didn't know after all. He was 24 years old, just graduated, and a newcomer to the company this year. It was the end of March when I heard that you had decided to hire him out of the company. Wasn't it? That means that he must have joined the company in September and immediately started looking for a new job. I wonder how much he learned about the company while he was there. And I wonder how much more he can bring to your company compared to me. I laughed, and Oscar turned pale and fell silent. Maybe neither the president nor the vice president really knew. I know that our company needed the help of Thomas. Please, let us use the patent. The president pleads. He's more serious than before. Then, I suddenly had a good idea. I have a good idea. Mr. President, please tell all the employees about the hamburger ice cream. Then, I'll think about it.
What are you talking about?
Oscar asked. I glanced at the conference room door. Through the frosted glass in the middle of the door, I could see some figures. I guessed that some curious employees were listening in. It's the hamburger-flavored ice cream. Don't you remember? That wasn't R&D's idea. It was the vice president's idea. We opposed to it until the very end. But in the end, we were framed. I opened the conference room door, exposing myself in a loud voice. A few employees were about to fall over.
What? Wasn't it the sole decision of the R&D department?
The employees were muttering in surprise, and I felt relieved. The vice president forced us to create the product in order to take credit for it. Then, I was made to take responsibility for the failure. Right, Mr. President? Mr. Vice President? I want an apology. I finally said what I wanted to say for a long time. After that, the president and vice president said in sync, "I am very sorry about what happened," and apologized to me. They promised to pay all the members of the R&D department a nuisance fee. I sent the video of their apology to the co-workers in the R&D department who had to quit, so they must feel better a little. In the end, I decided to let them use the patent. That was because I would get some money for it if I do so. I heard that the expert graduate school graduate that Oscar invited was almost useless. He was so proud of himself, yet had no information on the expertise of a big company, which was expected of him. He even couldn't do his job. They were having a hard time figuring out what to do about him because they couldn't just fire him. As for me, I have no stress because my company is smooth sailing and I can invent whatever I want. I have recently developed an improved version of a patent that is #1 in sales. I'm thinking of selling it to my former company's